May 24th, a clash of two unbeaten heavyweights. Bryant Jennings of Philadelphia, USA goes up against Mike Perez of Cuba. Both of these guys are small to medium-sized heavyweights, both stand at around 6'1", 6'2", both in the 225 to 235 weight range. Mike Perez was a solid Cuban amateur, had loads of fights in the amateur ranks for Cuba. And like most Cubans, he's very well schooled. He's a southpaw. Not necessarily a massive puncher, but he has respectable punching power. He can box, he can slug, but in his last couple fights, he's elected to slug more than box. And I think it's maybe been to his detriment, because I think he's possibly a bit shop-worn from those two fights. Not just physically, but also mentally, because we know that he had a very tough, grueling fight against Magomed Abdusalamov, which obviously ended tragically for Abdusalamov. He's now recovering from a brain injury and he'll never box again. But Perez himself took a lot of hard shots in that fight. It was a very grueling fight and very punishing for him. And then he went on to fight Carlos Takam, and he got a draw against Carlos Takam. I thought he was very fortunate to get a draw in that fight, and so do many other people. I actually thought he lost that fight. Very fortunate to get a draw, but again, it was a very punishing, grueling fight against a very big, strong heavyweight in Carlos Takam. Mike Perez took a lot of punches in that fight. Okay, so I think Perez might be a little bit shop-worn at this stage. Maybe he needs a longer rest, not just to recover physically from the two tough fights that he's coming off, but also to recover mentally, because mentally he can't be in the best place right now. He needs a pick-me-up fight. He needs maybe an easier opponent to pick him up, get his confidence back, and just start enjoying his boxing again. Because in his last fight against Takam, he didn't look like he was enjoying his boxing. So that remains to be seen, whether Perez is going to be in the right place mentally going into this fight with Bryant Jennings. But moving over to Jennings himself, he's riding the crest of a wave right now. Jennings is a guy who is really living the life. He's loving boxing. He's young, relatively young anyway for a heavyweight. I believe he's 29. He's hungry, and he ain't been fed a bunch of cream puffs. He's been matched pretty tough so far in his career, and he's responded very well. He's been through adversity. He's taken on tough fighters. He's been dropped before in a fight and got back up to win. He's had to grind opponents down over the long stretch like he did in his last fight against Artur Spilka, who was another unbeaten fighter and actually a southpaw. So that bodes well for Bryant Jennings going into this fight. The fact that he's coming off a victory against an unbeaten southpaw, going into another fight against Mike Perez, who's also an unbeaten southpaw. So that bodes well for Bryant Jennings. Jennings has a tremendously long reach, very long arms for his height, much longer than Mike Perez. Mike Perez has relatively short arms for his height. So that could be an advantage for Bryant Jennings, although of the fights I've seen of Jennings so far, he's not yet maximizing those long arms. He could do more with that wingspan that he has. At the moment, he's kind of mixing it up on the inside, fighting a good tactical fight, keeping his defense tight, but not really maximizing that reach as much as he maybe could. Maybe not sticking the jab with ramrod authority the way I'd like to see him, because with any fighter, it's all about maximizing your advantages. You know, whatever advantages you have, you make the most of them. For example, Floyd Mayweather is very good at maximizing his advantages. He has very long arms for his height, and he uses that to the maximum effect. Bryant Jennings is not quite there yet. He's not quite maximizing that insane reach. I believe he has an 84-inch reach, and the guy's only 6'1", 6'2". So there you go. He really does have a tremendous reach. The same reach as Lennox Lewis, longer reach than both the Klitschko's. So I believe he almost has the same kind of reach as, longer reach than David Price. I believe he's maybe the same reach as Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder. Don't quote me on that, but same kind of reach as those guys. Not sure about the arm length. But anyway, Jennings is riding the crest of a wave. I've been impressed with him from a tactical standpoint. He's living the life. Mentally, he's right. He's hungry. He's confident. He believes in himself. He feels good about himself. And I think that this fight could come down to the emotion and mentality of both fighters rather than the technical skill and background. Okay. Bryant Jennings, from what I understand, didn't even have an extensive amateur career, certainly nowhere near as extensive as Mike Perez. So you would imagine that Perez would have an advantage when it comes to technical know-how and experience. But as I say, I think this fight may come down to psychology and emotion. And I just feel that Jennings is in a better place right now, emotionally and psychologically. And for that reason, I'm going to take Bryant Jennings to beat Mike Perez on a 12-round decision. I believe the fight's over 12 rounds because I think it's, let me just check. Yeah, it's a 12-round fight. I just checked now. It's a 12-round fight. And this is an eliminator for the WBC title. Not a final eliminator. I believe it's an eliminator for the number 2 spot or number 3 spot. So it's an eliminator for the WBC title. So there's all to play for the winner. The winner could potentially be in line for a shot at the WBC title within the next 18 months. So, yeah, definitely a lot on the line here. Definitely a lot to fight for. Both guys should be motivated. One thing I will say, though, just to briefly touch on Mike Perez again, he's apparently working with Adam Booth for this fight here with Bryant Jennings. Now, his normal trainer is Abel Sanchez, and Abel Sanchez trains people like Gennady Golovkin. But apparently, Mike Perez is having visa issues. He can't travel back over to the US for some reason, for some apparently visa issues. I can't imagine what they're about, but because of that, he won't be with his trainer, Abel Sanchez. That's the story they're giving anyway. I don't see why Sanchez can't come over to the UK to train Mike Perez, to Ireland, where Mike Perez is based, or to the UK, where he also sometimes trains. Not sure why he can't do that. Not certain when Gennady Golovkin's next fight is. Maybe it's something to do with the scheduling with training Golovkin as well. Perhaps it's that. But he's training with Adam Booth. Adam Booth won't really be able to implement anything new in Mike Perez's game going into this fight. It's too short a time period. And I don't really think that Adam Booth's style, the style of fighting that he teaches, I don't necessarily think it's a very good fit for Mike Perez. Perez could do with losing some weight. He's not Odliner Solis out of shape, but I would say he is a good 10, 15 pounds higher than he needs to be. Yeah, at least 10 pounds higher than he needs to be. If he would drop some more weight, I think he'd improve his speed. He'd be a bit more elusive. And then it might be possible that he could fight in an Adam Booth kind of style. But when I look at Perez and look at all his fights, I don't know, man. He just don't seem like an ambush fighter type. He looks a lot more conventional than an Adam Booth type fighter. He gets his hands up. He throws conventional shots. He don't really like to jump in and out. He likes to either move around and stick a right jab and throw shots and engage, or he likes to stay right in the pocket and swap punches with you. He don't really like moving around and jumping in with shots, Adam Booth style. So I can't see Adam Booth being able to implement, to be able to brand his style on Mike Perez in such a short space of time. And even if he was able to do it, I don't think it's a good fit for Mike Perez. But that's just my opinion. So anyway, long-winded video. Sorry about that. But I'm taking Bryant Jennings to beat Mike Perez on a 12-round decision. Let me know who you're taking in this fight and why. And if there's anything you think I've overlooked in this particular breakdown, it probably is. But if you think there's anything I've overlooked, please feel free to enlighten me in the comment section below. This is Hatman. I'm out.